It was supposed to be an ordinary day. He had planned to be home late, just like always. Work had its demands, and he never questioned why his wife never asked about his schedule. But something inside him, call it instinct, fate, or just dumb luck, made him take an early train home. As he stepped through the front door, something felt off. The air was heavy, thick with a tension he couldn't quite name. And then he saw her, his wife, startled, as if she'd seen a ghost. She wasn't expecting him. That much was clear. Her eyes darted toward the clock, then back at him, a forced smile stretching across her face. "You're home early," she said, her voice a little too high-pitched, a little too rehearsed. He noticed how she clutched her phone tightly.
Hello, I'm the storyteller of the channel, and I would like to ask for a second of your time to subscribe, activate the notification bell, and like the video so that YouTube can take our story to more people who are passionate about stories like this. Thank you, and without further ado, let's continue with our story.
Her fingers trembling slightly. It wasn't just surprise, no, it was fear. A different kind of fear, the kind that only comes when someone is caught red-handed. But caught doing what? He set his bag down, eyes scanning the room. It was spotless. Too spotless. Like she had been cleaning up in a hurry. The scent of perfume lingered in the air. Something expensive, something unfamiliar. Not hers. His gut twisted. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice casual, but his mind racing. He had never questioned her loyalty before. Never had a reason to. Until now. His wife laughed, but it was hollow, lacking its usual warmth. "Of course. Why wouldn't it be?" she said, waving a hand dismissively. But she wouldn't meet his gaze. Instead, she busied herself, straightening cushions, adjusting a vase that didn't need adjusting. It was all wrong. A performance. And suddenly, it hit him. This wasn't just about being home early. This was about something bigger. Something she didn't want him to see. The phone in her hand buzzed. She jumped. He caught the way her fingers curled around it protectively, the way her body turned slightly away as if shielding the screen. His heart pounded. "Who's that?" he asked, voice steady, but his insides burning. She hesitated for half a second too long before answering. "Just work," she said, shoving the phone into her pocket. But he saw it. The lie. The way her breath hitched. The way her pulse visibly throbbed in her neck. He wasn't stupid. Something was happening here. Something just beneath the surface. He stepped closer, watching as she swallowed hard. He could almost hear the gears turning in her head, scrambling for an explanation, for a way out. But there was no way out, not anymore. He wasn't leaving this alone. Not until he knew the truth. And deep down, he already feared what that truth might be. The tension in the air didn't fade, it thickened. He wasn't the kind of man who pried, who asked too many questions. But now, something inside him refused to stay silent. That uneasy feeling wouldn't let go. Then, out of nowhere, she said something that made his stomach drop. "We don't have to worry about money anymore," she murmured, almost to herself, as she scrolled through her phone. The way she said it, casual, as if it were a simple fact, sent chills down his spine. Money? Since when was that an issue? They were comfortable, sure, but they weren't rolling in wealth. He had always been the provider, working long hours to make sure they had everything they needed. So why did she say it like that? Like something had changed. He glanced at her, searching her face, but she avoided his gaze, lips curling into a secretive little smile. That smile, it wasn't for him. It belonged to someone else. "Did you win the lottery and forget to tell me?" He joked, forcing a chuckle. But the question wasn't really a joke, was it? He was fishing, testing the waters. She just laughed, shaking her head. "Something like that," she said, waving him off. "Something like that." His blood ran cold. That wasn't an answer. It was a diversion. And now, the unease inside him turned into something sharper. Suspicion. The next day, he noticed something strange. A new handbag. Not just any handbag, a designer one. The kind that cost more than their monthly mortgage. And it didn't stop there. A new necklace. A pair of diamond earrings. Subtle, but expensive. He hadn't bought them. And unless his job started paying him without him knowing, that money didn't come from his bank account. So where was it coming from? He started watching her closely. The way she checked her phone constantly. The way she smiled at her screen. A soft, dreamy expression on her face. It made his stomach turn. Late-night messages, quick glances at the clock, excuses to step outside when a call came in, and that lingering scent of expensive cologne on her clothes, one that didn't belong to him. Each little thing on its own seemed small, but together they painted a picture he didn't want to see. One night, as she slipped into bed beside him, he took a deep breath and asked, "Where is all this money coming from?" He expected a laugh, a brush off. Instead, she stiffened, just for a second, barely noticeable, but he caught it. And then she turned to him, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, like a deer caught in headlights. "What are you talking about?" she asked. Too fast, too defensive. And that's when he knew. He had touched a nerve. She was hiding something, and he wasn't going to stop until he found out exactly what it was. The night was quiet, too quiet. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with questions he wasn't ready to answer. His wife lay beside him, her breathing steady, her face peaceful. But peace was an illusion, and deep down, he knew it. Then a sound, a faint rustling outside. At first, he thought he was imagining it, just another trick of his restless mind. But then came the unmistakable creak of the front door. Someone was inside. He moved quickly, silently. His pulse hammered in his ears as he reached for the baseball bat under the bed. A habit from his college days, when self-defense felt more like a joke than a necessity. But tonight, it was real. He stepped into the hallway, heart pounding, muscles tense. And then, voices. Low, urgent whispers. Strangers. He wasn't alone. His fingers tightened around the bat. Who the hell were they? And what did they want? Before he could react, the lights flicked on, blindingly bright. 3 men stood in his living room, their faces cold, their eyes sharp. One of them, a tall man with a jagged scar across his cheek, stepped forward, lifting a gun with terrifying ease. "Where's the gold?" the man demanded, his voice like gravel. "Gold? What gold?" His mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. Then he heard it, a gasp. His wife, standing frozen behind him, her face pale as death. That's when he knew. She wasn't just a victim in this. She was part of it. His stomach churned, betrayal cutting through him like a blade. "Tell them, Sarah," he said, his voice eerily calm. But she wouldn't look at him. Instead, her gaze flicked toward the men, pleading. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. He took the wrong suitcase. A sharp silence filled the room. The wrong suitcase. His blood ran cold. Scarface stepped closer, pressing the barrel of the gun against his chest. "So where is it?" he growled. His wife swallowed hard, her hands trembling. "I don't have it," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "Then who does?" The tension in the air thickened, every second stretching into eternity. Finally, she spoke. "My lover," she confessed, her voice cracking. He must have taken it. The words hit like a fist to the gut. Lover. The weight of that word crashed over him, drowning out everything else. Betrayal, lies, and now danger. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through his chest. But there was no time. The men weren't interested in their marital problems. They wanted their gold. And if they didn't get it soon, someone was going to die. He could see it in their eyes. So, for now, his anger would have to wait. Survival came first. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The room felt smaller now, the air heavier, like it was pressing in on him. His wife's confession still echoed in his ears, twisting inside him like a blade. Lover. She had a lover. And not just any lover. One who had stolen from dangerous men. His vision blurred with rage, but there was no time to process it. Scarface wasn't a patient man. "Call him," he ordered. "Tell him to bring the suitcase." Now, Sarah hesitated, her hands shaking as she picked up her phone. Her breath hitched as she typed. He watched her closely, looking for a sign, anything, that might tell him she regretted what she had done. But all he saw was fear. Not for him, not for their marriage, but for herself. The realization stung more than he expected. She had never been afraid of losing him. She was only afraid of losing her safety. The phone rang. Once, twice, then a voice, smooth, amused. "Miss me already?" The words dripped with arrogance. each syllable a slap to the face. Sarah swallowed hard. "You took the wrong suitcase," she said, voice barely above a whisper. Silence, then a chuckle. "Did I? Or did I just take what I was owed?" The amusement in his tone made his blood boil. The bastard wasn't scared. He was enjoying this. Scarface snatched the phone from her hand, his patience gone. "Listen, you little thief," he growled. "You have exactly 1 hour to bring us the gold, or I start putting bullets in places you won't like." The lover laughed again, unfazed. "I don't think so. Consider it payment for the nights I spent with her." The words hit like a freight train. His chest tightened, his hands clenched into fists. It wasn't just an affair, it was mockery. His wife paled, but she said nothing. No denial, no defense, because there was nothing to defend. It was the truth. Every second she had spent with that man, every secret touch, every stolen moment, it had all been real. More real than whatever their marriage had been reduced to. And now, because of her choices, they were both standing in a room with men who had no reason to keep them alive. Scarface hung up, his jaw tight with fury. "He's not bringing it," he muttered. The silence that followed was suffocating. He should have been angry at the lover, at the thieves holding them hostage. But the only thing he could feel was the crushing weight of betrayal. She had destroyed everything. Their home, their trust, and worst of all, his dignity. But he wasn't done yet. If he was going to lose everything, he would make sure she lost, too. And that's when he made his choice. If these men wanted revenge, he would give it to them, but on his terms. His pulse steadied, but not because the fear had vanished, because something inside him had shifted. If betrayal had taught him anything, it was that loyalty was just a word people used until it no longer served them. His wife had made her choice. Her lover had made his. And now, he was making his. He turned to Scarface, his voice colder than steel. "You want her gold? Let's go get it." The criminals exchanged glances. They hadn't expected him to cooperate. But what choice did he have? He wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore. He was a man with nothing left to lose. And men like that were dangerous. Scarface smirked, tossing him a gun. "Now you're speaking my language." The weight of the weapon felt foreign in his hands, but there was no time to hesitate. If he was going to do this, he had to commit. They drove in silence, headlights cutting through the darkness. His mind raced, calculating every possible outcome. Would the lover fight? Would he run? It didn't matter. One way or another, this would end tonight. Sarah sat in the back seat, her hands gripping the edge of her dress, her breathing shallow. For the first time since this nightmare began, she looked at him. Not with love, not even with guilt, but with something else entirely. Fear. The lover's apartment was upscale, the kind of place you could only afford if you had money flowing from the wrong places. Scarface and his men kicked down the door without hesitation. Chaos erupted. Furniture shattered, glass rained down. The lover was waiting, armed, smug, ready. But he wasn't ready for the husband. In one swift motion, he lunged, tackling the man to the ground. Fists flew, years of rage compressed into seconds. The lover fought back, but he was fighting a man who had already lost everything. In the end, it wasn't Scarface or the gun that decided the outcome. It was him. He stood over the man who had taken everything from him, breathing hard, fists bloodied. The suitcase sat in the corner, untouched. The gold was there, but none of it mattered anymore. He turned to Scarface, chest rising and falling. "Take it," he said. "It was never mine to begin with." Scarface laughed, grabbing the suitcase. Smart choice. As they walked away, Sarah reached for him, but he pulled back. Whatever they had, whatever they were, had died in that room. She called his name, but he didn't turn around. Some betrayals can be forgiven. Others carve themselves so deep into the soul that there's no coming back. And as he stepped into the night, leaving her behind, he knew this was one of them.